You have to do that, right?
Yeah.
You cannot do. Okay, you click next here. All right.
Yeah,
So
that
what do you
will-
want to call the name? Whatever you want. Say my virtual machine.
virtual machine.
Yes, my first. Just say my first VM.
Yes.
Just give it the name.
Mhm.
Yeah. Whatever I want. Okay. Now I click next.
Awesome.
So this way.
Okay.
basically-
So now it asks me, where is the disk? You have to connect it to multiple data store there. You
Yeah.
remember the data store? Data store is a logical concept.
Yes.
Yeah, like a bunch of disk somewhere on your network, and you created it, and you have access to that one. Okay, I look into the data store here. Which data store you think we should use now?
Go vCenter.
vCenter, that's a very big one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we should not use vCenter because vCenter is for management, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So here we
Yeah.
just make sure that just say, okay, this is bigger as compared to the other one. So I choose data store one. Just choose the default there, right? Okay, so this is the hardware version.
Mm-hmm.
The higher version, that means you have more feature than the lower version. Say for example, if you use version, by default it pick up the highest one for you.
Wow.
So if you choose version 4 here later, it's very old computer. This is very old computer, going to more and modern computer. Where here we don't have the high definition, we don't have the sound, but here you have high definition, a graphic interface, beautiful, all of that, and more drivers. Okay, so I leave it default. Okay, next. Okay, so what operating system you running? Windows or Linux or whatever you
Windows.
want, right? Okay, I say Windows here. You can choose the version or Linux. I can choose, well, I want to run the Windows 2012, for example, or server, whatever, right? That's 2012. That means you need to have the ISO image.
But
of
we
that
don't
one.
have that, yeah. We have,
Okay, say for example, right?
yeah.
Or you can see what else do we have in here? That is the maximum, right? Yeah, that because this is old anyway. Okay, so we just choose that one and let's say next. All right. So how many virtual socket?
Just
Yeah, that's your CPU. How many socket?
one.
One socket, two socket, depends on your hardware availability.
Also,
right?
how powerful you want to make it, like.
Yes, depends on what sort of virtual machine you are going to do. And then you have the number of core, yeah?
Yeah.
Quad, because you have dual core, so if you click on down here, it tell you have quad core.
Core
there.
7, Core 8.
So
Yeah, you understand?
You can have 8 virtual machines running.
Oh
on
yeah,
that.
yes,
Max.
yes. But that's very powerful. All right. Okay. Click next. I just leave it default at the moment. And how much memory you want to give it? It's just like you create virtual machine, yeah. But it's very easy with the graphic. That's a 4 gig
is
of RAM,
okay.
that's fine. Or you can lower it
2 gig.
down.
If you need more.
Yeah, or more or less is up to you. And click next. And what network you want to put it in? By default, you go to the virtual VM network. Yeah, that's the default
You
network.
can create your own.
Not network?
Yep. Or you can, if you already create the network, then you put into that network.
Attach it to it. Yeah.
Yeah, attached to that one. And this one is the gigabit Ethernet. Gigabit 10,000, 1,000. The gigabit card, network card. Yeah. And you say next. And using serial attached, storage interface. This is just the network card interface for storage. Okay, SCSI controller for storage there. Just by default, create a new virtual disk. Yes, I want to create new virtual disk there. And it's 40 gig. Yes. Okay. Now I go back to this one a little bit here. See raw device mapping here. Raw device mapping is where you map to SAN. You create a SAN and then you map to that one. We call it raw device mapping. At the moment, you use your existing data store 1 is the local disk. At the moment, you use local disk. But if you're using the distant disk, you choose raw device mapping. Okay. You go next. The next one here, number. Okay. Remember I talked about tick provisioning, thin provisioning,
Yep.
thick provisioning, lazy zero. That is the default. Lazy zero, that means you only format what you use. But you see, eager zero, that means you format if I click on here, the provision will take longer. Take up to 10 minutes, an hour,
because it
whatever,
takes
because it
40
needs to
gigs.
format everything from the
0 to 40.
first sector to the last sector. It format. And you have to wait for that complete formatting before it install. But if you click on this one, just say the window will take, you create 40 gig hard disk, right? But window take only 10 gig. It will format 10 gig.
10.
It will format the other one. So it's faster. Rather than you format 40 gig, you format 10 gig. That we call it lazy zero
Yeah.
and eager zero. That's a different. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so that we location. This is the swap file. Store with the swap file is important. You remember talking about the virtual memory, the page file.sys of Windows. When you install Windows, it creates a virtual network, a virtual memory. They call it page file.sys, and that page file.sys is the size is 1.5 of your physical memory. Say for example, you have an 8 gig memory. So what is the page file.sys? The size is 12 gig, you know? 8 plus half of it, I mean 12 gig. That they call it virtual memory page. That means when your memory is full, it will write to that disk, write to that file, right? And here they have virtual machine have swap file as well. That means the virtual disk. So the recommendation, store with the virtual machine. Why we need to store with the virtual machine? Because when you migrate, it go with the virtual machine, right? Because it has information in there as well. Or for the safety or whatever, you may store in a different location. Yeah, you can do that. So in store of sometimes the whole down, but you put in different location. It doesn't matter. Next. Okay, so it's the disk capacity greater than the amount available of data store, because at the moment we have only 27. You remember 27 gig?
Yeah.
It tell you straight away. So if we have to go down here
To
and
20.
we make it just say
Bring it down to 10.
15, make it smaller.
15, yeah.
and you click next. And okay, virtual device, no, yes, and you review your setup. Yeah. If you want to edit, you can edit before completion,
Yeah.
and you just say finish. And then you watch. Now you have
Yeah, there is a
virtual machine. You have my first virtual machine up and running.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
ISO file and everything
Yep.
is there already.
Oh, can you turn on the light? And if you click on this one, and you can power it on. Remember, power it on, power it off, whatever.
yeah,
Take
yeah.
snapshot. All of
So
that.
we don't need ISO file. The ISO file is already with the thing.
Yeah. No, not yet. Not
we-
yet.
no,
Not
no,
yet.
You didn't start yet.
Oh,
Now
thought
you're
it's
just,
already like-
just sitting now. You're playing with
Okay.
and
Now
stuff.
you add a setting of that virtual machine, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So you see exactly the same,
same
right?
thing that we do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing. And then you have to point into where the location of that one, to put in. If we don't have that ISO, sorry, you can't install it.
We
Very
don't have,
basic.
unfortunately.
So you understand that how to create virtual machine, right? Very easy, very easy. To access that one, you remember this one here. Open console. Open console, that means you open another console that bring up the virtual machine so that we can work on that. Okay, so that is another thing that I have to show you, because I don't think that we have. If I click open console here, see, look, this is the console. That where the virtual machine is running.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because we haven't got the disk, so it will run, right? If I click run here, if I click on run, what happened? It was like no operating system file, right? Because we don't have the disk.
Yeah.
It goes, yeah, no, it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work, okay? But okay, so that's how you when we run, it's starting problem now. Yeah, because it keeps working on
Go
it.
on, go on.
Yeah, okay, it's off now. It's still on, so we can power it off, right? We power it off. We don't need to run it. But that you see and here you can do a lot of. You look at summary, because you are the administrator,
Yeah.
so you have to have a picture,
Okay.
yeah, of the device that you're working on.
Mhm.
Okay, so what is the name of the manufacturer? What the model? How many cores you have there? What sort of processor type you have,
Mhm.
right? And talking about the resources here, talking about storage, network, fault tolerance, everything. It gives you a lot of information about, your existing
Mhm.
environment. You understand this?
We
It's
should
very
be
important
fair,
too.
yeah.
And let me finish all the tab and then we finish, okay? And then we go to the virtual machine. That will tell you how many virtual machine running on your host,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
You,
just
if you
one.
have
So this
maybe
is
20, 40, depend on the capacity of your host machine.
Mhm.
And
Virtual
then we,
machine inside virtual machine, another virtual machine.
that's
Yeah.
right. This is we do here is a virtual inside virtual. We call it nested virtualization.
Nested.
But in the industry, you have the whole box there.
Yeah.
You work
In
on
the real actual
yes, yes.
thing.
This simulation only. Right?
Yeah.
And then we talk about resource allocation. Okay, so this one, talking about the unlimited. We don't want to limit, the CPU power.
Mhm.
Share is normal. Oh, this one, I need to have some time to explain. This is very complicated concept.
Yeah.
And then performance. Okay, you can see just like window performance. Window
Yeah.
monitor. You click on the task manager.
Task manager.
Yeah, it gives
Yeah.
you a lot.
Yeah.
And
it's
in
like
here?
task manager.
In here, you have a look at the see average here. See, look at here. Look at this one. The latest, maximum, minimum, average. It can execute at the same time. Use it. It's a lot of things. Just to learn this one is a lot of things to learn. Okay, and then we go to configuration. This is where you join the domain. Say for example, DNS and routing here. If I click on DNS and routing,
Yeah.
it's slow. The system
Very
is slow
slow,
down. Yeah. But if you click on the DNS and routing, slow. Yeah, because you.
It's
All right, it's not responding. That's typical. Yeah, because there's it bring up another screen for you. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I think you are become more impatient there.
Those were saying they're gonna have the very good computers now in certain rooms. So
Yes,
probably
yes, and then you after the break you have break. Okay,
computers.
so here you see the domain and routing here. You click on property. In the property will allow you, say for example, local domain. It has not joined the domain yet.
Mhm.
So if I put here the domain, what's the domain name? VM deploy dot locals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put okay, and I say all right, okay, yep, domain there, and it joined the domain.
Wow. Yeah.
very easy this one. Why is
Very
complicated
easy,
the
yeah.
other one?
Yeah.
Very easy join the domain.
And sometimes it's asking for the administrator password just like you normally do, but that's how they join the domain.
Mm.
And then if you look at the
User.
time configuration,
Wow.
at the moment the NTP, you know NTP? What NTP stands for?
No.
Network Time Protocol. Network Time Protocol. At the moment, the Network Time Protocol is stopped, so you need to run it. Okay, so you go to Property again, and you see Network Time Client Enable,
Okay.
and this one should run. Okay, it's later, and then we give you the time and date and time and the server. They have to configure it, right? If you go to the and refresh here, so you click refresh. Sometimes we need to refresh.
Yeah.
Okay, etc. So a lot of anything you do, you click on the property here, it will bring you to the configuration file. Yeah, when you work with VMware, a lot of things we need to talk. Is a lot of talking about network storage adapter networking. This is where you create the
Virtual
switch,
switch.
the virtual switch. Say for here, for example, if I want to create a virtual switch called virtual switch number 1. At the moment we have virtual switch number 0, that's the default. Yeah, I create another virtual switch. I want the virtual machine to connect to it. I say next, and I add because I have 3 network cards.
Yeah.
I use 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, I use that one. So VMNIC 1 and click next, and I call this one. It just say test network. Test network.
That's
Right.
nice.
Next, and finish. And then you should have the test network coming up. You remember? Now I want my first virtual machine to run on the test network. How do you do?
You
Map it to
can-
that one.
Yes, that's right. So we go to virtual machine, and you right click on this one. You edit settings.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you say
network.
you change this
Network.
one to the test network.
That's network.
That's how you change to a different network. You see that one?
Yeah.
So you create the virtual switch and then you attach the virtual machine to the switch. See that one? Yeah? It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So that means how you do the configuration, where you add, the
Yeah.
networking there. Yeah?
That's network.
Yeah. And then the user. Look at the user. At the moment, we have a VPX, you have root user, VPX user, and DCUI user. There are 3 users by default. So what the first user, you know that already. Root administrator. When you install the operating system, you create the root user, right? The next one, VPX user. VPX user is the user that will interact with the vCenter server. The vCenter server will talk to that guy. For any work, say for example, from vCenter, I say, migrate virtual machine, my first virtual machine to host number 2. That's your command, right?
Yeah.
So the vCenter server will talk to that guy, VPX user, hey, tell the host to do what I'm telling you to do. You understand? He's just like an agent, right? Represent the host center, the vCenter server. He's a proxy. He's the one who represents the vCenter server to communicate with the host. Yeah, the host talking to the vCenter server through him. You understand?
Yeah.
All right. So the DCUI is they call it command line. DCUI. Okay, they call the direct console user interface. Direct console. Okay, let me show you what direct console user interface means. Okay, let me go into the host here. This is the console, right? I press F2. I go to direct console user interface. I put in here VMware 1 exclamation mark. Okay, and okay, I want to configure it. Okay, so I want to configure the management network. I just say, I want to say that network adapter. How many network adapters we have? 4 network adapters. The first one, VMNIC 0. The second one, VMNIC 1. You have to remember the order there. Because in virtualization, the first one always 0, not VMNIC 1. VMNIC 0 is the first interface. You understand? And you can enable it. But remember, this is the direct console. We can't use the mouse. We can only use the keyboard only. So I move up and down. I say, okay, I want to use that one. Okay, I want to use that one. You understand? And after that, I press escape. It will get out of that one. I continue to do. Okay, so you can create VLAN here if you want. You can. You see, you remember I talked to you.
VLAN IDs.
Yeah, VLAN ID.
1
Yeah.
to 4,000.
Yeah, you understand?
Yeah.
That's the default.
Yeah.
And you can choose
Which one you want?
1 to 4094. We avoid 4095 because that if you enable that one, everybody can see the network traffic. It's horrible. And you can see 0, you can use 0, you can use 4096. They are reserved. So whatever you have there, so okay, I want to put into VLAN 100, for example, depend, okay, but we don't want to do that one here, right? So escape, yeah? All right, I can do a lot of things. Okay, now, look at the troubleshooting. What can I do with the troubleshooting? I hit enter here. You see, I can enable the shell for programming or bash programming or whatever. I hit enable shell. Now it's disabled. Oh, sorry. I need to enable the shell, right? I enable the shell. After I've done that, I press escape again, right? And then it will save into the configuration mode. If I want to access the shell, I just say Alt F1. It bring me into the shell. Yeah, at the moment I think that it's saving. It's not Alt F2 to get out of that again. Yeah, so I do it again here. So just try here just to show you. VMware 1 exclamation mark. And I say, okay, it's F2 to configure as you go to the troubleshooting option here. Yep, I need to enable that one. Yep, enable, I press escape.
Because here it says enable.
Yeah, enable, I press escape again. I don't know why it's not saving. It should prompt me for the saving. Yeah, because if not saving, if I go back there, VMware 1 exclamation mark. It will bring you into the configuration, right? And go to troubleshooting option.
Yes,
It's
it is.
enabled.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, good. Okay, so if I say Alt F1, it will give me the lock on screen because it's enabled. The shell enabled. So all I type here just root, like we normally do, and we just type VMware again 1 exclamation mark. So we are in. All right. So we normally do troubleshooting using this one. Say I want to make sure that I can ping the client. I say ping 172.20.10.50. That is the client. 50, not 51. 50. I hit enter. I got the reply. For example, troubleshooting. Yeah. For example, right? Etc. And I want to access one Alt F2. I'll go back to that.
Is this one here is mostly command based?
Yeah, it's Linux machine.
Ah, okay.
It's a Linux, so you have to be very good at Linux to use all of this stuff, right? All right, so that what I'm doing there, we call it DCUI, Direct Console User Interface. Yeah, we're just using Direct Console. So we go back to the
I did that when I was doing that
to the
pen testing thing.
to this one here. You go back to this one. See? DCUI. DCUI that means Direct Console User Interface. Yeah. And you can go to the event if you want to, and just like event viewer. Remember in Windows we have event viewer, the same thing. Yeah, you can detect problem, error, whatever here. And finally you go to permission. At the moment only 3 users have administrator permission. Yeah, you can add user in here as well. Yeah, and then you can assign. Sorry, go to user. You can add user in here as well, right? In the user here, you see, you should be able to add user later on. I will show you how to do that one, and then you give it permission. What sort of permission you want to give to that one? So, familiarize yourself with all of this, to understand how they all work together. Yeah. So, yes, you have any question?